The Indian Air Force evacuating the Indian ambassador to Afghanistan, members of the Indian embassy as well as journalists who were stranded in Kabul earlier this morning in what was a fraught but very precise rescue mission. Vishnu Shom gets us the details.
Well, the Indian Air Force was able to evacuate approximately 140 members of the Indian embassy, their security personnel and stranded journalists from Kabul this morning. They are back in Delhi now. There were cheers and claps as the C-17 transport took off from Kabul International Airport. Back home in India, in Jamnagar first, there was an overwhelming sense of relief. The jet had landed back in India.
Welcome really has an impact on all of us, and thank you of course to the Indian Air Force who flew us out under conditions that are not normal. It's not that we have abandoned the people of Afghanistan, that their welfare and our old relationship with them is very much in our mind. We will going forward try and continue our interaction with them. Of course, I cannot say in exactly what form and manner because the situation there is changing so much. It's a lot to us to be back home, so your welcome really has an impact on all of us. And thank you of course to the Indian Air Force who flew us out under conditions that are not normal, and of course is hosting us here after a long, tiresome journey. It's not that we have abandoned the people of Afghanistan, that their welfare and our old relationship with them is very much in our mind. We will going forward try and continue our interaction with them. Of course, I cannot say in exactly what form and manner because the situation there is changing so much.
But getting out of Kabul was a nightmare. Two Indian Air Force C-17 transports had flown in on the 15th of August for the evacuation operation to Kabul International Airport that you see on your screen. Now, the security situation overnight between the 15th and the 16th of August deteriorated sharply. No evacuations were possible. You can actually look at where the Embassy of India is in Kabul, and on the top of the screen you can actually see Kabul International Airport. They needed to go in that direction. It was very difficult. Why? Because the Indian Embassy was under observation by the Taliban. The high security green zone where all embassies are located had been breached. Now, between the 15th of August overnight and the 16th of August, Taliban soldiers raided the Shahir Visa Agency, which processes visas for Afghans looking to travel to India. This forced a reassessment of the security situation for the Indian mission. The first batch of 45 Indian personnel who did manage to evacuate yesterday on another Indian Air Force C-17 aircraft were in fact initially stopped by the Taliban sentries en route to the airport. Personal belongings of a few Indian staff members were taken away by Taliban thugs as they proceeded to the airport. The first Indian Air Force C-17 transport, which departed yesterday, also took off under very challenging circumstances given the chaos at Kabul airport. In this image, you can actually see groups of people in the bottom of the screen near the aircraft. It was an absolute nightmare. There was shooting which also took place, people desperate to get onto the aircraft. But the remaining members of the Indian diplomatic and security contingent weren't able to initially make it. They were unable to evacuate since the route to the airport was closed yesterday and there were mobs at the airport. Take a look at the route. It's completely chock-a-block full of cars. They were unable to get in. But there was an overnight conversation between the US Secretary of State and India's Foreign Minister Jaishankar that could have helped facilitate movement of remaining Indian personnel to Kabul International Airport from where they were evacuated this morning.